Currently, I'm in the ancient town of Katzrin, which shows an ancient Talmudic village. This is actually a reproduction. This is not actually ruins here, but this is to give you an idea of what the houses look like. This one is actually under construction. And the space between the roads here is actually the distance that they would be. So somewhere like in Damascus or some of these ancient towns would have very narrow streets for walking. And here to the right would be a house that would be lived in. And you notice the top here, the roof, this is would be made out of wood, sticks, straw, and mud, and everything would be packed down with one of these things. And this thing is heavy. It's, as you notice, the front is not it's made out of stone, and the pusher, the roller itself, which has the axle, is made of a metal, an iron, or a brass type of material. And as you can see over here, this would also be the back end of this house. And one of the interesting things is in the rainy season, because of the mud and the thatching, you would have a lot of times grass grow on top of the roof. And in Psalm 129:6 and in Jeremiah 37:29, it speaks about grass growing upon the housetops. And this is in reference to this type of event happening during the rainy season. So again, this is a house that someone would live in. You notice down below there the narrow streets and a house under construction and what it would look like. Okay, so this would be the inside of the house, the one that was under construction. If you noticed all the way around, the wood planks, this is actually stone here. This would be the bottom area, and you smell it's kind of musty. If you have allergies, not the best place to be. You notice the beams are made of stone. You notice the height of the doorway, so you have to actually stoop down to come out into it. These are some of the ancient tools. A hammer and measuring tool, clips. You notice the scaffolding and the tools that are on there. Again, the hammer and up this area. And I'm actually going to climb these ladders here to give you an idea the height of this. And this is a little pulley system to pull up wood, planks. And as we come along here, again, the inside, you notice it's not very, this is the thatching here, and you see the mud in between that they would use. A little doorway to allow air through. The light obviously does not exist in this time period, the 1st century. But you can see this whole area here. And as I look through, you can see the other building and what it would look like. And this is the okay. So right presently I'm in Gergen, which is a reproduction of a Jewish 1st century town home area. Right now I'm looking at where the upper room would be, the insula room, where the family would stay, the mother, father, and the young children. You can see the ladder coming down and into this larger room area. You notice the thatching again for the roofs, the planks across, the wood, the mud. If you remember in Mark chapter 2, when the 4 men made a hole through the roof, they put the paralytic through so Jesus could heal him, that they would literally have to dig through mud and sticks and stuff to get through to lower the paralytic. And you could see how far they would have to lower it down. So I'd say that's probably a good 20 feet or so down. This hanging thing here, which you can see, maybe barely, but I'll give it a little closer. This is actually where they would keep their food It's not too high, but you notice right below it is where the table is. And this is where they would, it's more like a natural refrigeration, and back then their food would be made of salt and natural preservatives so that it would keep, so they wouldn't really need an area like a real cooling system. This area here, again, is a area where they would keep supplies and other things. You can see the different water jugs, wine jugs, other things that they would keep there. One of the things I want to take note of is you can see the natural, the stone floor here. And if you remember in Mark, I think it's in actually Luke 15:18, where the woman lost her coin and swept all over to find it, that this is what she would have to sweep around in order to find her coin. And this room would also be where the wedding feast would be taken care of. And during that time, a groom would build his house or his room to his father's house or build his own house. But this is where that wedding feast would be taken care of. And it talks about how Jesus is going to prepare a room for us. This is also figurative of this type of room when Jesus is the groom, comes for his bride, the church. This area here, this room is kind of the garage of the area. And in the wintertime, this is where they would keep their animals. And if you remember when Joseph and Mary, they couldn't find a place to live in, the guest room was full. This area that I just showed you, this room, this would have been also the guest room. So, this whole room was full during the time of the census. And so you can see multiple purposes for this one room. But this is where they would have stayed, and this is where the animals would have been. And interestingly enough, in the wintertime when the animals are all in here, all of the, you can imagine the heat from the animals and the smells and stuff, but it was a natural way of keeping the room warm. So, this is, let me just come through here. There's a very small opening through this area, but you can see here's a wool barrel. I don't know if you can see a wool barrel there. And again, the size is very small. But again, this would be the area where the animals would be kept, and the size of the manger that they would have stayed in. And as I come through the door here, this is just another section here. This is again into the guest room, and then the outer door area. And this would be for heating, for cooking and stuff as well in the wintertime. In the summertime it would be too hot, so they use an outer kitchen for that area. Currently I am in the town of Katzrin, in an upper Galilee area. Where I'm looking at right now, directly in front is the synagogue of the town. And it's estimated that the cost of this synagogue to the population here would have been several million shekels, or dollars actually. At the very top of the columns, you notice these are actually is a representation of the Torah scrolls, and that would have been supporting a second story part of the building. And all the stones in this building are hewn stones. To the left, the reconstructed building that we went through earlier is of a rabbi that actually lived close to the synagogue. And the well to support this community would have been in this area. You can't see it in this picture, so I'm not even going to scroll in, but this would have supported about, based on the size of the community, which is based on the water that it can support, it would have been about 75 families, probably somewhere around 200 to 300 with children and husbands and wives. And so the support of this town, the financial support, came from the growing of olive trees in the area. To this right area near the tree, very close to the synagogue, would have been the marketplace itself. And the tree that's there by the rings of the tree is estimated to be about 400 years old and is mentioned in other people's travel guides. One of the things that is interesting about this period of time is that the temple, the synagogue, was replaced the temple and the city gate as a place of gathering and of worship during the time of the diaspora, which is after 70 AD, when the Jews were dispersed among the nations. And that's when the synagogue again came to become an important part of the community and a gathering place for the people in this town.